Welcome to an episode of Inner Work Guides, Alchemical Gnosis, Yoga of the West. I'm your host, John H. Reed III. Let's get to it. I'm calling this episode, What is Inner Work? I want to explain in a broad sense what inner work is, especially from a Hermetic Science view. I want to take one moment, though, to clarify something that I said in my second episode when I spoke about esoteric Christianity. This is not a religion. It's a spiritual practice. There's no dogma. And when I say esoteric Christianity, I'm really talking about the mythology, the stories. I use those to make a point about certain Hermetic practices. But believe me, this is 180 degrees opposite of what you're used to. And I'll use the mythologies from Christianity, Greek mythology, just as readily as I'll use something from Star Wars or Dune or Lord of the Rings. Okay. The human mind has access to and utilizes the potencies found within three realms of consciousness: the outer physical world, a subliminal middleware state, and a supersensible collective. As modern-day humans, we spend most of our lives focused on the outer physical world. In the material world, we bake our bread, fix our cars, earn money and prestige, and find advancement in business or other endeavors. From our perspective, the physical world is predominant, and that is what most of our attention is fixed on. Yet of the three worlds mentioned, the physical world is like the proverbial tip of an iceberg, comprising a mere fraction of the total truth and has the least substance of all three. The domains that make up your Esosphere, comprising the subliminal middleware and the supersensible collective, are what give the physical world substance and deserve more of our attention. The word Esosphere is made from a Greek word, eso meaning within or inner, and sphere meaning a planet or celestial body. So in this sense, it means inner world. Common phrases from our collective vernacular, like you are what you think, you reap what you sow, or the outside is a reflection of the inside, informs us that we have a co-creative relationship with this inner substance, and its fecundity instigates through repeated patterns of thought, especially emotion. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Carl Jung proclaimed, all the works of man have their origin in creative fantasy. What right have we, then, to deprecate imagination? Both men lauded the key to the Esosphere residing in humanity, our imagination. That statement might sound fantastical in itself, but do me a favor. Just look around you wherever you happen to be, and realize this. Everything you see, not put there by nature, began as an act of imagination in someone's mind. There is plasticity to the imagination that we have utilized to mold our physical existence. True, science has not learned to measure it yet, but we all benefit daily from the fact of the Esosphere's existence. We find ourselves, then, at the intersection of realizing we use this fantastical substance to shape physical reality and experience, and yet recognize that we know little about it. Since we can't weigh or measure the Esosphere, and the substance, for the most part, is unknown to the majority of humanity, it's safe to say our minds use only a fraction of the potencies found within the Esosphere. And yet we stand transfixed, staring only at the external marvels of the physical world that emanate from the Esosphere rather than standing in awe at the source. Inner work accepts that our daily life and its myriad of experiences are built from and indeed is but a reflection of our Esosphere. Most of the inner world, though, is like an unlit basement. That basement is full of machinery that keeps the physical world functioning. When was the last time you gave commands to the atoms comprising your desk to maintain its shape, or remind your heart to beat, or Boyle's law to be operational? The basement contains that and much more, but it also includes the machinery of the tribe, the rules, the regulations of family, society, religious customs, etc., that we use to shape our daily experience. Because of that last part, the basement is also full of forgotten, discarded things, stored memories of pain, sorrows, fears, embarrassment, etc. Inner work is a practice to bring the light of awareness to the environs and circumstances of your esosphere. In computers, middleware allows outside programs, your conscious mind, the physical world, to interface with and utilize the CPU's power, the supersensible collective. It acts as an abstraction layer or middleman between developers of program, again, your conscious mind, and the CPU. In this role, the middleware will do whatever is ordered. There is no logical analysis of the request that has been sent to it. It will compute an array of numbers accurately, just as readily as it will create an infinite loop that causes the computer to seize up and stop functioning. Many people find their lives stuck in an infinite loop, unable to understand or break the execution of the cycle. Because our subliminal middleware is susceptible to control and influence from the myriad of machinery used to keep running the physical world, conflicts about allowing or not allowing a particular internal potency to operate are often muddled, and gives opposite results than what we consciously profess wanting to have happened in our lives. The only way to deal with this situation is to go into the basement. But there is a catch. Just as the One Ring could not be destroyed by any artifice or craft possessed by those of Middle Earth, so too is there no light source, and by this I mean intellectual jujitsu, you can perform to outsmart, outperform, or figure out the solution to the lesson from the outside. One has to, in essence, lean into the shadow. And doing so is completely antithetical and counterintuitive about how to go about solving the dilemma to most people. I am reminded of the scene from The Empire Strikes Back. Luke, there's something wrong here. I feel cold. Death. Yoda, that place is strong with the dark side of the Force. A domain of evil it is. In you must go. Luke, what's in there? Yoda, only what you take with you. Unlike our young Jedi, there is no lightsaber to take with you. And just like Luke, if you did have one and attacked what you found in the cave, you would find that you are hacking and slashing at yourself. One does not become whole by amputating various parts of oneself. The only thing you can take with you is what at first shows itself to be the dim light of your self-awareness. But after repeated crossings, you begin to experience the inherent luminance of your esosphere. Despite what some mythologies put forward about vanquishing dragons or eliminating demons, inner work has nothing to do with that. It's about seeking understanding of those various parts of ourselves we have little experience dealing with consciously. It truly is about having an inner dialogue with the various distinct entities that make up the society of your mind. Then, with understanding, perspective broadens naturally, and what had been seen only as a problem will show the inherent solution in a new light. Energy is energy. The same energy that animates the dysfunction today is the same energy that will freely flow in its productive use when understood. Alchemy is about transmutation. When enough of the inherent luminance of your esosphere is made apparent to your self-awareness, changes naturally occur in your life. You have a more direct, uncluttered access to the supersensible collective, or the collective unconscious of the universe, which is the source of all information, inspiration, and creation. I read something the other day that said we can deck ourselves out in sacred geometry tattoos, wave sage around, fill our homes with crystals, and go on psychedelic trips all we want. But if we aren't doing the dirty inner work, it's all pretty useless and literally just a novelty at that point. Be careful not to use spiritual tools as illusionary cop-outs for putting in real work and painting a false image that you're actually tuned in when you're still trying to escape. The above quote identifies why we all need a guide when doing inner work, because it's too easy to follow our natural predilection not to turn inwards. Actual inner work is not spiritual cotton candy. It takes courage because you have to feel into things you don't want to feel. All of that stuff hidden in the shadows is what my mentor called angels in the basement. Though at first glance, we do perceive them as less than angelic. I found that once people start getting into the nitty-gritty of inner work, they'll do just about anything, no matter how non-productive, to get out of inner work. A guide is necessary to help keep you on the path and ensure that you have the requisite experiences for growth, and that you do not act in a cavalier manner and discard or gloss over a critical event. Indeed, the conscious mind fears its usurpation by that which resides at the center of all things. It will do anything to trip you up and take you off the path, or convince you to feel good about your supposed advancement. One needs an active guide for inner work, and that work should be done one-on-one. Inner work is a spiritual practice, and in that it means it's subjective, but it's not religious. I define spirituality as the dexterity through which one accomplishes any task, to the degree to which one can allow the one life to flow through them unobstructedly. Conversely, morality should come from a deep intra-conversation with the self, and you can't achieve that through books or dogma. There are many modalities of inner work, and while they all share some standard practices, the one I utilize uses Hermetic precepts. The use of specially prepared herbal and mineral substances, which is unique to the Hermetic Science and its approach to inner work. Though made from common herbal species, when prepared according to alchemical tenets, these products profoundly affect those who ingest them. In my experience, even the simple herbal extracts my first-year students produce cause them to have lucid dreams. They're amazed at this, but it's to be expected. Now, properly made herbal tinctures and higher products will affect those who ingest them, irrespective of their involvement in inner work. I would say the highest herbal products are the liquid quintessence or solid plant stone. In my experience, these alchemical oblations have acted as a catalyst that allowed lucid dreaming comparable to an acid trip. The onset of the effect is not as quick as acid nor as intense as ayahuasca. Still, alchemy does afford those who practice under its conditions the ability for deeply illumined interior experiences. In my experience, the information gained from these inner experiences translates fully to the physical world. The utilization of these products mandates the application of conscious intent. Inner work based on Hermetic methodologies is not some haphazard affair. You are not taking something to tune out and see what happens. Hermetic philosophy has a complete paradigm that coaches the voyager into internal excursions to broaden one's inner awareness and understanding of self. The alchemical process is natural, no different from planting a seed. As long as the proper conditions are met, nature takes its course. Application of conscious intent is done by realizing that you are the matter upon which this process's will is wrought. By performing specific practices, you prepare the matter and consciously assist this nascent stage in revealing the inherent luminance of the emotional discomfort and non-productive perceptions revealed by session work. Like the shamanistic vision quest of indigenous peoples of North and South America, the Western initiate uses the spiritual arcanum of plants. The preparations used in alchemical gnosis do not contain psychoactive compounds that work through the body's chemistry to bring about interior sight. Yet these herbal preparations allow the user to safely and consciously enter the Esosphere, experience its reality, and share in its knowledge. That doesn't mean that you can't make a spagyric or alchemical product out of a plant that has psychoactive compounds. Plenty of people have. It's just not a prerequisite to have the experience. What I have found is that when I've worked with people that have used LSD or mushrooms or ayahuasca to help them with whatever internal dysfunction is going on in their life, that utilizing the precepts of the Hermetic Science and how it goes about inner work has allowed me to help these people integrate that explosive experience they had when they took the hallucinogen. It just doesn't make any sense to keep on chasing the dragon and having explosive experience after explosive experience if you have no idea how to go about integrating it, reconciling it. And all of that happens on the inside because that's where your outside gets made. In my second episode titled How I Got Started in Alchemy, I mentioned that Frater Albertus wrote, "A rise is always preceded by a fall." And now going to Christian mythology, with everything I've said about how our middleware state is influenced and utilizes the instructions or part of the instructions sent to it from the programmer, the outside world, we can understand that phrase in Genesis where it says, "And the evening and the morning were the first day," or whatever day of creation. Because it is on the inside, what we see, what we experience, how we judge things, that acts like compound interest and pushes an emanation out that mimics that perception. Thank you for listening to this episode of Inner Work Guide's Alchemical Gnosis, Yoga of the West. Don't forget to subscribe. Contact me by writing to theinnerworkguide@gmail.com. Go to my website, innerwork.guide. Create an account to get on the mailing list. Read the blog and listen to the podcast. Click on the donate button to support my work.